In this lesson, we'll learn how to use Liquify to reshape some facial features. So let's go ahead and continue on. All right, so now that we've retouched his facial hair, basically making it a little bit darker, removing those little patches of gray and white hairs, I want to draw our attention now to his nose and the screen right eyebrow area. If you look at the nose, it's kind of crooked, kind of pointing towards the screen right. And I understand that nobody's nose is perfectly symmetrical, but I'm going to show you how we can kind of straighten it out. So if you wanted to do something like that, this is a good example to work with. Another thing to keep in mind is that your nose, as well as your ears, they keep growing as you age. And so we may want to reduce the ball of the nose just very, very slightly. If you look right here at the screen right eyebrow area, you'll notice how it's kind of drooped down much more than the screen left. So I want to kind of raise that up, and really what I'm aiming to have here is just this space that we have over here on the screen left, and I want to have that over here, and that'll just kind of, having that space will kind of liven that eye up just a little bit more. So we're going to be using Liquify, a powerful feature located in Photoshop to kind of move pixels around and adjust their size. Before we do that, I want to make a merged copy of everything I have here over my layers panel. So just by selecting a visible layer, I'm going to go ahead and click Shift, Control, Alt, and E on my keyboard. That gives me that merged copy. Bear in mind, whenever you do this, you want to make sure that you only have visible the layers you want to include. In this case, all of them. Okay. Now I'm going to do something that it's new to Photoshop CC. So you can't do this prior to previous versions of Photoshop, and this is going to relate to working in Liquify. You can now use a smart object in Liquify, okay? And I'll kind of show you a little bit more clearly when we come back out of Liquify. But basically, we're going to go ahead and right-click and convert this layer to a smart object, okay? We have that little icon. If you've ever worked with smart objects before, you can see that it's signified by that little icon right there on the layer thumbnail. Let's go into Liquify, Filter, Liquify. We're in our Liquify dialog box. We have some incredibly powerful tools over here on the screen left. And then over here on the screen right, we're going to focus on this area, the tool options, which basically allow us to change how these different tools behave when we use them. So we're going to be using this forward warp tool. This basically allows us to move pixels around, as you can see right there, okay? Now, I want to be mindful not to move areas around the nose. I don't want to mess with those areas. I just want to focus on the nose. So I'm going to use our Freeze Mask tool right there. And I'm just going to paint just kind of a rough, doesn't have to be pretty, rough mask around the nose. Just that whole area around. Okay, I don't want any of that information being manipulated. All right, very good. We'll grab our forward warp tool, and if you look over here in the tool options, we can adjust the brush size. I usually like to adjust it, come back over here, kind of hover to see how large it is. That feels pretty good. We have the brush density. This controls the edge strength. So if it's at 100%, you're controlling the entire radius of this cursor, of this circle. And you can kind of get a sense of that just by moving it around. Okay, I'm going to take it down probably somewhere between 30 and 40. So that concentrates that strength more towards the center of that circle, or the cursor, if you will. And that just gives me a little bit more control as I kind of straighten that nose out, just kind of finessing it over. And of course the brush pressure, that's just the distortion strength based off of how much pressure you're applying with your stylus. Okay, that's feeling pretty nice. Let's come over here to our pucker tool. This basically implodes pixels towards the cursor. Again, I can adjust the brush size. I want to kind of focus on the ball of the nose first. And then brush density. Again, it's just the edge strength, just as we talked about with the forward warp tool. And then we have brush rate. I'll show you kind of what it looks like at 100%. If we just click, you can see how quickly that happens. So I don't want that, obviously. So I want to bring that down probably around 35 would be fine. So now I have a little bit more control. It doesn't happen as quickly. And so now as I tap, I can just very slightly start to bring the ball, that nose, down in size. Again, the brush density, having it low, I kind of like that there. It's not happening as uniformly over the entire tip of the nose, so I kind of have a little bit of control, just kind of working my way around that tip, getting it just the way I want. But again, it's up to your personal preference. For the wings of the nose, I might bring that brush density up higher and just have those wings kind of come down just a little bit more uniformly. Again, we're increasing that brush strength closer towards the edges of the circle, okay, or your cursor, if you want to call it that. Let's go ahead and take our thaw mask tool, get rid of that mask. I'm liking how that's looking. It's much straighter, okay? All right, so if you're not happy with any of those changes, we have a reconstruct tool over here. You can easily restore all that if you wanted to, but I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking. I'm going to paint another mask over the eye here, okay, just above that, the black area of the eyelash, okay? And then we'll kind of come around over here above as well. So we're going to pull that area upward, okay? Using the forward warp tool, might take the brush size down just a little bit there. So something kind of like that. Okay, and inevitably we're going to get a little bit of stretching there along the edge of that mask. That's okay, I'll show you how to fix that. So you can kind of see right in there what I'm talking about. The skin is stretched, but I already like the space that I'm getting. Okay, so if you're happy with these changes, click OK. Now this comes back to having this layer as a smart object, meaning we can click on liquefy right there. We can go back in and basically undo those changes if we want, or make further changes. Basically, the original merge copy is still preserved because it's a smart object. This is something that's new to Photoshop CC. Okay. All right, very good. So on this smart object layer, what I'm going to go ahead and do is take my lasso tool. I'll make a selection right here above the eye, just of that skin right there. I'm going to right click, choose layer via copy. Let's zoom in here just a little bit. I'm going to hit Control T on my keyboard to free transform it, then right click, choose flip horizontal. We're going to bring that little patch of skin, kind of doing a little bit of surgery now, if you want to think of it like that. And I'm just going to place that over that stretched area right there. And I right clicked again and chose warp to kind of manipulate it. And then I'm just going to take my eraser tool, using just a soft round brush in this case, and I'm just kind of blending that in. Now I understand that this is kind of a destructive edit to this little piece that I brought over, but since it was something that I was very quickly and easily able to do, I'm not too worried about it. But already, that's feeling a lot nicer. So I'm just kind of weaving that in so it doesn't feel stretched out. Later on towards the end of the course, we'll be doing just some kind of final touch-ups overall. We may do a little bit of extra stuff right there to kind of weave it in even further. But again, having that as a smart object will allow you to go back into Liquify to readjust any of those changes that you've made. If it's not a smart object, then you're stuck with those changes and manipulations you've made in Liquify. All right, so in our next lesson, we're going to move on to the skin and just kind of talk about how we can kind of smooth out some little indiscrepancies here and there. So stick around. We'll see you then.